Start the same sentence about 10 times, and I won't think twice about it. So, as Rich said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. This is making me self-conscious about people. But I'm honored to be back again for the third time, and Rich, totally, he did surprise me as well, because we had talked about different topics, and so I like validated with him this week. I'm like, hey, so what do you want me to talk about? You know, I've been here before talking about my own personal journey as a psychic medium, and then recognizing your abilities and gifts. And he and you know, we had kind of settled on something. And then when I checked with him, he was like, you know what? You just do whatever you want. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna flip it all around and surprise you. So yeah, he truly doesn't know. You know, until I sat down to rearrange some things, I didn't really know either, because I kind of felt drawn to one particular area over another. And since Spirit has never, to this day, led me wrong, I just went with it. So hopefully it'll be useful to you all tonight. I do a lot of different things. I do own my business, Light Visionaries Outreach, which is a center for holistic healing and natural wellness at Selinsgrove. I travel up and down the East Coast doing group gallery readings, corporate events, private appointments, that sort of thing. And it is wedding season, as Rich and I were talking. I'm an ordained wedding officiant. I perform weddings. I teach kindergarten by day. And I'm an author as well. I have several children's books published, so I do a couple different things. Some basic definitions, if you've been here before, the first couple slides are from some of the other presentations that I've done to give you some background. So if you have not been here before, it'll be new, but if you have, I apologize in advance. So psychics are people who receive knowledge and message about the present, basically geared toward health, career, decision-making, upcoming events, and things like that. Those who are mediums communicate with those that have passed away. Not everybody who reads is both. I've read both. I've read my whole life, and I've only become public about 6 years ago. I do say it's been the best decision I've ever made, and I've met such awesome and amazing people since then. But you also have to be comfortable with the person that you go to for a reading if you're ever considering it, because it's kind of like getting a massage or a Reiki session or another holistic healing session where you're letting somebody into your energy that really has no right to know what they know. So you want them to be of positive and great intention, so you can feel comfortable throughout your meeting with them. Empaths feel the energy of others or a situation or a place, and sensitives are those that have many different abilities. Clairaudient and clairsentient means hearing and feeling, and also receiving perhaps through taste and smell even. And they can receive information about environments or the energies they're interacting with, or both. People can have multiple abilities, and I believe that everybody has some sort of gift, talent, or ability. It's how comfortable you are with it, if you want it to continue, if you want to suppress it, or if you're kind of good at status quo. So you have to kind of find your niche if you're interested. Again, for those of you who were here before, I grew up both psychic and medium, as I said. I do have other empathic and sensitive qualities, but I kind of try to turn those down in public situations. I'm not reading the room. Please rest assured, I have to, like, that disclaimer comes with meeting anyone new, like, hi, I'm not reading you right now. You know, so please don't worry about that. I'm not nosy to the universe, so I will only read if people ask me to read. And just some things that, as a kid, you know, I would tell my family about things that I had no way of knowing. I have a lot of interesting anomalies with me in pictures, which is pretty entertaining. I've had a lot of meaningful dreams. My imaginary friend Billy was one of my subjects of my kids' books. So he was very real to me and kind of opened me into the whole spirit world comfortably. And I would experience some signs or symptoms physically with no real cause for that. And that kind of plays on the empathic side. So some people exhibit, you know, health characteristics and really have no reason, no medical reason for them. And it can come down to levels of sensitivity. So it's really something that's worth looking into if you are one of those people. So after that, I kind of developed prayers of protection. I practiced some cleansing rituals. I grew up with a mom who was very supportive and also had ability in a different way. So we worked together to kind of create some psychic symbols, as those who read work through symbol. So once you kind of make those connections with spirit, you can develop what I call a psychic dictionary, which has symbols that when they come to you, you can create those symbols in meaning with the other people, the people that you're meeting with. And I began reading without trying, which is usually those with ability that just surprises you. You don't necessarily have something that just like spawns it just kind of starts. And that's what happened with me as well. But I don't need to be with someone to read. I can read on the phone or through an online chat program or by Skype. A lot of my long distance clients prefer an online chat because they have a little dialogue. And those who I meet with often take a lot of notes, so that way they can go back and look on the notes of the reading. And then as I kind of got older and started doing more and more reading, I started messing with electronics. I'm horrible with light bulbs, batteries, freeze things up. In fact, I wasn't surprised when we couldn't get this initially working when I got here, just because that's usually what I do. On the flip side, babies and animals usually go to sleep, so I guess it's a balance. And bless you. And then I would see a lot of things visually. As someone who reads, I don't read with cards or tea leaves or things like that. I read by seeing and hearing and receiving message intuitively. So that's how I read. A little bit about it. So my grandmother passed away, and that kind of opened some doors for me. She was one of the first people who came to me in spirit presence, and about 2 minutes after that, my mom called me on the phone to say that she had passed away through surgery, and I said, I already know, she was already here. And since then, I felt that my mission hasn't always been able to read for people to create that sense of healing and calm. So my mission has always been a positive, professional, peaceful experience for calm, comfort, and closure. And thanks to my grandma, who had some ability as well, she received a lot of intuitive dreams. So I thank her and give her credit for that. So upon sharing these gifts, I kept it very private because I'm not pushy about it. I won't twist your arm and make you try to believe. And in fact, the people who kind of had the prove it to me attitude are the ones that I have opened the door for on their way out. You know, I don't let the height fool you, I'm blunt. So I will say, you know what, I don't really think you want to be here. Now's not really the right time, let me get the door. And I have done it, and I'll do it again, because people come to being open to any of these topics at their own right time. So, you know, it can't be forced, and everybody comes at their own level of spiritual and soulful development. I grew up, again, reading, but have developed lifelong client friends and shared a lot of experiences with them. And again, the universe knows when you're open and grateful for those sorts of things. And there are always naysayers, but, you know, again, I don't try to twist arms, so people who aren't quite sure, you know, that's okay. I kind of would rather, as Rich said, answer questions and share experiences. So because you are here, you're all interested in topics and things that aren't necessarily tangible. You've all probably had experiences that you can't put your hands on, or you can't feel like it's necessarily, you know, maybe it's something you want to try to talk yourself out of. But I'm here tonight to let you know that all the experiences that you've had or questioning are very real. And so this kind of is the kind of surprise part that I kind of threw in with Rich. He doesn't understand that I just take it and run when he says, do what you want. So anyway, I'm going to kind of stop at this slide for a second, because this kind of ties into those experiences that you may have had in the room. And Rich, I don't know if there's a, which I didn't think of this before right now. I don't know if you don't mind giving people one of my cards, or if there's a place where you can write a number down for me. But I would like you to, my business cell phone number, I'd like you to, throughout the next couple slides, if you think of a question that you have about the afterlife, or life on the other side, or an experience that you've had, please text that question to my cell phone number. Now, I won't know who you are or what number it is, but till the end of the slides, if I have any questions, I can go back, and it can be very anonymous, but I can address those. Please know that you're not going to offend me, because the 5-year-olds have already told me which outfits they like, do not like, and how they like my hair. So you are not going to offend me with any question you've asked. Please know that it's not going to be the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So don't worry about any sort of offense. But please send a message. And again, I won't know who's sending it, so you're scot-free in this whole thing, so that's great. So for others embracing their gifts in the room, just be respectful and grateful for what you have. That's the biggest thing if you want to carry on and continue and improve your gifts, is just to be grateful. I can't say it enough. That will make your gifts grow exponentially. Practice safely and with a knowledge base, and Rich is a great resource for that, as well as anybody or any classes or workshops or secure online resources, not shady ones, secure ones, that can help you find out more information from that. Validate your own experience, whether that's writing it down, whether that's thinking, praying, meditating about it, whatever you find most comfortable. Trust your instincts and your gut reactions, and a lot of people, especially men, don't think that's a gift. They think, all right, well, I just met somebody, but I don't really like them. And I don't have any reason. My dad is famous for this. And it took me years, to try to say, my dad, you have to understand, has helped me move the furniture into my business, but doesn't want to know about all this stuff. It kind of scares him a little bit. So I, said to him, he's finally gotten to the point where he says, oh, do you have any appointments tonight? He texted me on the way up here, good luck tonight. I'm like, thanks. Like, I had to look twice. Like, really? Thank you. But he has one of the most incredible gut reactions of anybody I have ever met. He can meet somebody and instantly not like them, and he's not being judgmental. He just really doesn't like them. And there's a reason for that. So especially guys, you have a really strong gut instinct, so please trust in that and lead with that. Don't be harsh or mean or anything, but just kind of validate that and honor that feeling. Women have it too. We lead with a little bit more emotion too, mixed in. So, women's intuition is true too, but again, we kind of tie in that emotion. Research what fascinates you. Use resources. Rich has a bunch, I have a bunch. Anything that you're interested in, use those resources truly. And surround people that validate those with you, because you're already starting on a deeper level of interest. And that's why I was saying, with you all being here, it's a deeper level of understanding. You have those friends where you say, oh, as girls, sorry, men, but as girls, we have those girlfriends that are like, oh, cute shoes, or oh, what movie did you see? And that's it. That's where the conversation stops. But when it's something like this, it's not as tangible. You really do have more of a connection in these friendship levels. Be aware of physical signs and symptoms, especially if you have no medical cause for them. Again, that can lead into some other empathic qualities. Pick and choose your battles. You don't need to defend yourself. You know what you experienced. And feel exceptional from that. So this is why tonight's special. So those that investigate or sensitive or psychic mediums interact with the paranormal and various types of beings from the other side all the time. But many of us also do that. And again, the most common experience is trying to make sense of it, to try to calm ourselves down and validate for us, or deny it completely and totally that it's happened. And that's very common. It's a very common thing for us to do. But however, these different interactions that you may have had come from different levels of beings. So the next portion, that's kind of a surprise, is that we're going to look at some of the different energy levels of beings. And we're going to start with kind of the highest vibration, which are most comfortable for us to experience. Hopefully by seeing kind of some overviews of that, you may get some insight into some signs or symbols that you've experienced that you want to text, and we can talk about. So, again, I use the word vibration. We're a very low vibration. That's why we're tied to gravity. That's why our feet are planted on the ground. And those that are close in our vibration are oftentimes who Rich gets the pleasure of dealing with, those just above our vibrational level. But those, when I read, or anyone who connects or has had signs or symbols from the other side, is dealing with some higher vibrational beings, which can make you feel very pleasant. So loved ones who are sending messages. Again, this is a sign or a symbol coming through in a dream, coming through in a reading. So interaction with these loved ones, all their messages are sent with love, concern, support, guidance, and protection or warnings. They're only with the best interest. I'm telling you, it does not matter what type of relationship you've had with that person on this side. It doesn't matter. There's nothing held against anyone on the other side. I deal with beings of the love and light on the other side. Friends, family members, coworkers, pets. Nothing is held over on the other side. And that is any religion you believe in. I don't tie what I do to any sort of religion. My answer has and always will be, people, I had a lady and I just divert from the topic just for a split second because she was so cute and funny. But she was like gripping, I have like anti-gravity chairs in my, it's all like a very spa feel with green and a lot of green and white. And she's like gripping the arms of the anti-gravity chairs, like she's terrified. And I stopped a couple times, are you all right? Oh yeah. Are you okay? Oh yeah. And she was like on and on about, kind of being concerned. She's like, oh, well, if my sister knew I was here right now, she'd think I was going, where. She was like, oh, she's just terrified that this is gonna just be horrible. And I said, here's my answer. I take religion completely out of it. I'm open to whatever anyone believes. I'm not gonna push you or twist your arm to believe anything. But for my interaction with spirit, I am only dealing with those beings of the love and light on the other side. My answer was to her, and always will be, when they were living on this side, you knew what religion they were, and they knew what religion that you were. Do you want to talk to them or not? That's it. So I'm taking that all completely out of the equation with that, but that was my answer to her, and it will be. You knew each other then. You're the ones connecting. If it didn't bother you then, it's bothering me now. So I've never had anybody walk out the door when I've said that. So during a reading. So I hope that that's well enough, but that's the way I look at it, and Spirit looks at it in my eyes as well. They're some of our most frequent communicators. They utilize our daily life in comfortable settings to communicate or leave a sign or symbol, like the penny on the ground, or a feather, or a particular bird, or those sorts of things, just some common examples. They'll try to have a direct connection in an attempt for you to remember them or connect with them right away. So if you receive a sign or symbol from someone and then you automatically think of someone, please know that it's exactly who it's sent from. Oftentimes in a reading, Spirit will say, oh, well, I am communicating with them. I am sending them something, but they don't think it's me. Because you want to try to talk yourselves out of it or downplay it a little bit. So please know that is who's sending it to you, and it makes you feel loved, remembered, and protected. So guardian angels often communicate wordlessly and prefer telepathic messages and soulful experiences, miraculous interjections, through dreams, meditations, healing sessions, and those sorts of things. They message with the purest love and utmost intent and protection. And they make you feel overwhelmed with emotion and inner peace. So it's very peaceful, comfortable experience. They're very high vibration. So their interaction is very, very comfortable to us. Often very profound and very meaningful, kind of, like I said, overwhelming emotionally sometimes. Again, spirit guides, messages of true guidance to help you remember a previously learned lesson. They're often open to visual communication using dreams, meditations, and healing sessions, and can be silent types or vocal. I've encountered both through readings, dependent on their personality and how they've related to you before, whether or not you remember it. And they'll make you feel like you're kind of gaining confidence as you're re-remembering things, their messages. Have to look out for your best interest as well. So again, very comfortable. Universal spirit messages from any higher power that you believe in. Messages can come in any form and any rate. They can feel indirect. Like that phrase, when one door closes, another door opens. And sometimes you're waiting. And you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting. And sooner or later you realize that actually what you're waiting for, or what actually showed up, is a much bigger blessing. Or a door that you didn't expect to open. So it's that kind of redirection. And sometimes it can feel like it's taking a while, but all the while it's very, very meaningful. Please know that this is on purpose. From one of my main, I don't ever remember readings. I've thought of myself as a receptacle, so I pass along the information, and then I help explain the symbolism to my client friend, and then they're gone. And you can take what you want and leave the rest. And one of the things that I always say from my interaction with spirit I've learned is that sometimes our human time feels so long that we're waiting on something, or we're hoping for something, or we're wishing for something. And just know that the main point of any sort of meditation or healing session or mode of alternative wellness or reading is validation from the universe, what you're going through. Somebody's noting it. Somebody's noting all those horrible things that have happened in the last 2 weeks and why. And whether or not we know that as humans at the time, that's the most important reason. So once these connections are made, just be grateful for them, and they will continue. Now we're going a little bit more uncomfortable. These elemental energies are an energy that can actually manifest itself as part of history, events, or an area or a place that has intense emotion, trauma, drama, sadness, a big multitude of places, especially in southern Pennsylvania. I always give Gettysburg as a good example of this, if you've been through that area. Messages are usually vastly different. They're either very clear or very confusing. It depends on whom you're dealing with, I guess. And they're usually very much a felt sensation. This can feel okay, or it can feel uncomfortable, or it can just feel busy. There are several locations I've been to here in central Pennsylvania to eat. And I can't really say where they are because you'll know when you walk in, really. But they're more historic places and they're very busy. It just feels like it's full. Even if there aren't very many people in there, it feels full. So that's another example, and you'll feel that out as well. And you may feel that this energy is communicating by playing with you or watching you. And then ghosts or earthbound spirits are very close to our physical vibration. That's why they're the most uncomfortable to us. Okay, so they will use various methods of communication. Excuse me, they're generally very bold in their attempts to communicate. Their messages can seem confusing or emphasized or almost insistent, like right now. They can make you feel confused or that you're searching for something, trying to help them, make you feel a little bit disturbed and uncomfortable. And again, that's due to them being very close to us. And finally, what some people don't understand when they come from a reading is that you can also experience signs or symbols or direct connection with those on this earthen plane who are still living, very much alive beside you. So they can be the messages can be direct links to them, like if you hear a song on the radio, remind you of somebody, and then they call you on the phone. Or, I picked up the phone to call you, and my mom and I used to do that quite often. I picked up the phone, and there's no dial tone because we had dialed at the same time. That sort of thing. So they're immediate direct links and connection because you're on the same vibrational level. You're on the same plane now. And the connections will happen very fast. So you'll immediately kind of link to that person because, again, you're on that same plane. And their communication will validate your true feelings for them. So you'll either be really happy you heard from them, or that you'll kind of say, okay, this is why we don't talk very much. It just kind of validates your feelings, again, giving you that main purpose of validation. So there's that. So I don't know if anybody had anything to share, but I always like to set parameters, not just with my 5-year-olds, but with all. So please know that I won't make you share. But my main purpose is to educate, address your questions, and help you understand. And if I can do that even a little bit, then I serve my purpose here. So everyone's here who is here tonight is interested. So please don't make you feel awkward in asking anything, and please reserve from using any judgment. You may inspire someone else to connect with someone of a similar experience. As I say, you're never alone in the experiences that you've had. And we don't have time for group gallery readings, sadly, but please know that I'll take as many experiences or questions about life on the other side or your connection to those, both on this side and the other side, as we can. So I don't know if anyone felt so motivated to text, but I will check that here in a moment. So if you thought of anything, please feel free to do so. And if you would also like to just blatantly ask, as I said, I'm blunt, so that's A-okay with me too. But I wanted to be comfortable. So really, any questions that you have about, reading, levels of being, signs or symbols from loved ones, interaction with those on the other side, sharing any experiences, I'd be happy to answer. Really. This is the quietest place I've been all day. I have 14 days of school left. I'm counting every second of every minute of every hour of every day until I'm done. So please just make me feel not alone, grown-ups, please. This is my grown-up time. My grown-up time. So please. But please ask. Please ask away. Yeah?
When I was younger, when I was like 15 or 16 years old, where I used to live in Mexico, I was able to somehow read like what was the next song playing.
Okay.
One day when I was working outside, I was listening to the radio outside from my neighbor's house, and I wanted to listen to Hotel California, and for some reason that was the next song that played, and I was able to do that almost all the time. And now I'm not able to do that anymore. And it's like, wondering if that's somewhere in Mexico, it was like, I was connected there somewhere, or like?
That could very well be the case. Another thing that I noticed too, and I don't know how long ago that was for you, and you said you were growing up, so I don't know how long ago that was for you, but one of the things that I have noticed in my interaction with spirit over this amount of time is about every 7 years or so, based on life events. So maybe you have a really difficult year around that 7 years. And around every 7 years or so, your own personal vibration changes a little bit. So it could be firstly that you're really connected to a place there. You were very at home, very relaxed. That's usually the best time that you're gonna have things like that happen. When you're doing something that's, again, you said working around there, just something that's kind of mindless other than you thinking about the songs on the radio. So it could be that you were very relaxed, almost feeling like whatever you were doing didn't require much thought except what you wanted to hear. So that could very well be. It could very well be the location as well. I know there are special spots all over the world that are a little more conducive to those sorts of energy play. And that may be another option. And the third one would be that I would say that you would have that shift as you grow. So those when we're younger, we don't have the filters that we have now. And I can definitely tell that even by working with the kids, even still now, they don't have filters, but we definitely do. And even though we don't try to, you can get to the point, and the part back in the part of your life where you get that back, if you so choose and you want to. But I think a lot of times as we grow, that kind of weeds itself out a little bit, sadly. With practice, it comes back. You can still do it. Which is really awesome, and that's great. Because if you fine-tune that, I have a few song requests that I haven't heard like in a really long time, and I'd love for you to be able to play them because I don't have iTunes or anything, so that would be spectacular. But yeah, I think it's really has to do with your growth and also being in that, like I said, that relaxed, mindless zone. One of the days, and as I said, I don't try to read on purpose unless people ask me to. But I, again, don't have to be with someone. So one day in the summertime, as I'm off of school, as Rich knows, we still do a lot of things in the summertime, but when I was off of school in the summertime, I was actually trying to accomplish something in my own house, like laundry or dishes and all those things that waited pretty much most of the school year. And I was kind of just in that mindless zone. And I just picked up something for someone, and I'm like, oh. And I sent him a message. And then I went back to doing the dishes or laundry or whatever. And I get this ding, thanks about that. I was wondering about that today. Okay, back to whatever I was doing. And then I got something for somebody else and messaged them. And it was a couple different validations that day, but it was in mindless work. It was in a time when you are totally relaxed. You're not trying to focus on anything. And again, that relaxes your own personal vibration, lets your mental vibration go up, be closer to the divine, whatever you deem that to be. And allow you to interact with those frequencies a little bit more. So it's probably a combination between the two of them, not knowing how long ago it was for you, or, but it's probably a combination. Thanks for sharing that, though. That's really cool. Sure.
Kelly, thanks for coming first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. If you have, say, if you have a loved one that passed away, in my case, it's my wife.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll find my mind just wandering and talking to her. And then a lot of times I get stuff that I know that I did, and I'm thinking to myself, is there any way to tell her I'm sorry and have her know that that's the truth? Because that sounds really corny. Or,
No, not at all. That's one of the things that I hear most often is, do they hear me? Do they hear me when you pray or meditate or journal or talk out loud? I talk to the universe all the time. I don't think it's weird, as do the cherubs I teach, but some people are more uncomfortable with that, and they find meditation or prayer or journaling a little bit more comfortable. But nonetheless, everything that you've put to the universe, again, you're meeting them on their vibration. So they do hear everything. They hear everything that you direct to them, whether in thought or prayer or meditation or actually writing it down. So if there's anything that you have said to them, a lot of times when they come through in a reading, they will validate that a little bit. You know, a couple of months ago, I had a lady that was very quiet the whole time, and her relative that passed away said, "Tell her I like her singing in the kitchen." So I told her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, no one's supposed to hear that." And I'm like, "Well," she really enjoys it, you know. So that connection, they do hear everything. Please know too, a lot of people ask, this is the flip side of that, a lot of people ask that if they invade our privacy, like, I don't really want them with me in the shower, you know. And please know that they are very respectful of the privacy of those on this side. But that's kind of the flip side to that. So although they hear everything you direct to them, they also know when to take a step back as well. So, yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. Please talk to me, grown-ups. Yes?
Do you think everyone has a spirit guide and or guardian angel?
I won't ever tell anyone what to believe. I say that in my readings all the time, because I've tried to pride myself on being as open-minded as possible. However, for my interaction with spirit, sometimes they come through during readings and sometimes they don't. Most often, it's just the loved ones. And most times, those interactions with spirit guides and guardian angels will happen during a deep meditation or a healing session or something like that, where, again, your vibration, your consciousness is at a higher level. So sometimes they do, though. I've had some that have come through during readings and been very, have given me the symptoms I talked about. You know, there was a lady one time who, again, I don't remember readings, but I remember prominent messages from spirit. And she came through. She came for a reading one time, and I said, "Do you pray to a particular angel?" Because all of a sudden there was this massive angel in the room, and she said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "I can tell he's here right now." So, it doesn't happen quite as often, but, and I don't mean to sound weird, but they have other things they're doing. So those relatives and loved ones are coming to connect directly with you, and unless it's somebody who, from the other side, who you've kind of, again, she was like, every day, I pray to this person every day. But I truly, from my interaction with spirit, believe that we kind of arrange that upon birth. If you feel like you want to have somebody as a guide, okay. If you feel like you can do it on your own, okay. So, you know, I truly think that's a personal choice. I think as life happens to us and we grow and change and have experiences, we sometimes come very much closer to those, and sometimes we push them away. So it all depends on personally on what you go through. I think it's always an option, whether or not it's something that those people take at the time. But those are the ones, too, that are a little bit more indirect in their signs or symbols, so it's kind of more difficult to pinpoint, okay, did this happen or not happen, or how did it tie together? Creating those connections a little bit more difficult and a little bit more vague, unless it's like that miraculous type experience that can kind of renew that connection. But that's a great question. Yes?
Yeah. My other half passed away September 1st, 2015, and I can't pass my grieving. It still hurts.
I'm sure.
Does my grieving keep him from passing?
No. If anything, to validate your connection with him, a lot of times spirit I'll ask how spirit makes their person feel. You know, I often say, how do you know? How does your relative or friend know that you're close to them? And one of the things that I've heard, I don't hear it a lot, but one of the things that I heard is that I make them very emotional. So to me, that's, again, I say, if anything, to validate for you that he has successfully crossed, and that also his presence, as much as you think about him and pray to him and talk to him, and as close as you continue to be with him, that probably makes that emotion even more so, because his energy is very close to yours. So it does not prohibit them from crossing.
Yeah, because I didn't talk to many people, but one time I was in the living room and I glanced into the hallway and I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't see a lot of him, just like from the shoulders up, and he kind of gave me that look.
Oh.
And he turned. Because I always told him, if there is another life, you know, because he used to poo-poo all this
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He used, I'd say Steve didn't come back and let me know, because he had cancer, and that's what he got from. But, I always wondered if maybe my greeting was holding him somehow.
No, I would feel, just from, again, my interaction with spirit, that his presence is probably, I don't want to use the word encouraging some of that, but probably, because it may be the way his energy interacts with your energy. It's kind of like the polar ends of a magnet. He's not really trying to make you upset or trying to keep that connection, but that's just the way his energy affects your energy. Let me give you another example. Those who read cannot read themselves, and if they can, it's usually only for warning. So I'm usually in the dark about myself. But my grandmother, who was in the picture that I sent, that got a lot through dreams, she would well up at anything. You know, she would well up if she was happy, if she was sad. It didn't matter. Her eyes would fill with tears. And I was never like that, because if you're like that with 5-year-olds, they will walk all over you, okay? So, you know, I give pep talks to my dogs, like, you have to try harder if you want pain for me, because I look at pouty faces all day long, I'm tough. And, but I could tell she's somebody who I immediately knew when her presence was close to mine, and it's funny to say this again, but she came to me in the classroom, and I welled up during math. I'm teaching math, and I'm like, what in the world? But immediately I had a sense of her, and that was her, a way that she used to be. So I excused myself to the cubbies. Again, keeping 5-year-olds independent is not easy. It was quick chat. But I excused myself to the cubbies, and I said, Grandma, I love you. I'm glad you're here, but I need you to please back up, because I got to finish math. And within a minute, that had stopped, and I could resume what I was doing. So it is always okay too, and that's an example for anybody who has those, you know, those moments. It could be just their energy that close to yours. So if you're in a situation where you can't be so emotional or you can't let it out, please know that by you validating them, telling them, sending them love, and wishing them to please back up because you have your human stuff to do, they're very respectful of that, and they're not going to go away. They're just going to allow you to continue on and carry on. But I often say, if that's something that you're wondering about, if it is the way his energy interacts with yours, just try that a time or two. You know, when you have that experience, just kind of step away for a moment, try that, and after a time or two, see if that shortens the experience for you, especially if it's in a place where you can't, you know, be like that. But no, that it never prohibits them from crossing. From my experience with spirit, they've never mentioned. And again, one thing that people always ask is too, you know, if it's in the moment of a romantic interest or a spouse or that sort of thing, I've never heard a partner on the other side say that they did not want their partner on this side to be happy. And if that means to go ahead and feel comfortable when and if meeting someone else, no one, they've never asked, they've never said that. They want us to be happy. So, you know, just a little aside about that sort of thing. People ask that question a lot, and I've never heard the opposite.
Very random question.
I like random. I hear random all day long. You're not,
Embrace yourself. So do psychedelics play any role in spirituality?
Yes, they can.
In which way?
They can get you to a higher vibration and a closer to meditation consciousness faster. So that is both good and bad in that if those just had that implication, it would be fine. But if they also have implications where they can affect your other body systems at the same time, that's when you can't necessarily recall your experience, or it can put you in harm's way if it's not something you're familiar with, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I think it is, in the past, they have been useful historically to open minds and to allow people to open up and think deeper and focus longer on that higher consciousness. But then also, again, it's the implication that it may have on other body systems, or where, the place, because you know, I mean, I would think that being in one's home or being in a public place could be a completely different safety concerns.
Images.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think they definitely have had historic purpose for that, absolutely. And it seems to be, as well, a lot of people have really true revelations. But again, it depends on which particular, that whether or not you remember that experience.
So whether or not you can use that information afterward.
Right. It depends on which psychedelic it is.
Gotcha.
You know, some allow you to remember, some don't. So if you receive something during that time that you feel like is useful, and this kind of ties into, again, those experiences, signs or symbols or reading. I always say that when you open yourself up, no matter how you're doing it, you only want to open yourself up not only with the best intention, but that you can do something with the information you receive. So that's why I say I'm not nosy to the universe. If I walk into a restaurant and I start reading people, they don't know me and I don't know them. So first of all, that's not private to me, because I'm very big on privacy. But second of all, I don't know how to help them. So again, if in your particular instance with your question, it would be, okay, well, with where I am and my personal safety and what else may happen physically during the time, am I going to be able to take what I am open to and utilize it elsewhere or not? And really, it would only be based on experience. I know, I guess.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Sure. I did buzz. I don't know who it is.
You're a psychic, you're supposed to know.
Listen, I'm trying not to read the room. You went live? Rich. Notice. A little notice. Anyhow. One of the questions that I received was that someone had passed a long time ago and hadn't received any signs or symbols or connection from those people, and why was that? A lot of times people ask, it's a very good question, a lot of times people ask that. From my experience with spirit, it's basically based on cause of passing. People who pass of a very long-term illness or had a lot of depletion in their human energy on this side before they passed, it takes them a little bit longer, which, again, long calendar, that's a relative time to us, not as much on the other side, but it takes a little bit longer for them to come through full strength in a spirit, in a dream, for us to get signs or symbols from them. And I use this very cheesy phrase that it's almost like they have to recharge their battery when they hit the other side to be able to come through. It doesn't mean that they're not there. It doesn't mean that they're not constantly around us or monitoring us or guiding us or protecting us. It just means that to give the signs or symbols that they think that we're going to recognize, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And I always look at my client friends, and I say, I know that doesn't help you. Like, I understand that doesn't necessarily bring you, it's not exactly what you want to hear, but sometimes it just takes a little bit longer. Know that those people, if you haven't heard from them, and that's something I say at the beginning of a session, just because you don't hear from someone, please don't think they're not there. Just know that you have other messages you have to hear at that time, or other symbols that perhaps you have to hear. Another reason that you may not experience as many signs or symbols from a loved one, or connections from a loved one, are sometimes based on transition in our lives. So they often will tell me that they step back so that we can make our human decisions on this side. Because they don't want to stand in the way of our soulful evolution and our spiritual progress to whatever we decide to evolve to, or as high as we want to go vibrationally. So they kind of back up a little bit and let us make the decisions that we need to make. Again, it doesn't mean they're not there. They're there for guidance or protection, whenever we feel like we need them. But they often will let us kind of make the decision and then come back a little bit closer so that you may sense them. So if it's been a trek of several years, it may be a little bit of lapse of time before you feel like someone's close. Or if you're going through a lot of trauma, if there's been a lot of busyness in schedule, truly, that sounds silly, but it's true. A lot of busyness in schedule where you're go all the time. Spirit knows when they hit the pillow, they need to sleep. If we're coming to them in a dream, we may make them emotional, we may make them upset, we may make them like distracted, or they may not sleep well, and they got a big job to do tomorrow. So they are very respectful of us here on this side, and so sometimes just lifestyle, sometimes our transitions in life that we have to decide about, and other times it may be their cause of passing. So I hope that answered that question a little bit more. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm a Civil War buff, and I visited a lot
lot of Civil War battlefields up
Sure.
and down the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy studying the battles and the troop movements and all that sort of thing. And sometimes when I'm out on the battlefield, I can almost see the battle happening, or I feel like I can. I really don't actually see it, but I can feel it, sort of. And I've read some stories about people who, well, when they leave the battlefield and they go home, sometimes a spirit accompanies them when they go back to their home.
Okay.
And I was just wondering if that's anything you've ever encountered. Is that something is there a way to protect yourself perhaps that,
Yeah.
you know,
Sure.
as much as I like Civil War stories, I don't want them coming to my
Right,
house.
sure, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a great question. A lot of people, you must really love what you do to think about that, because a lot of people are just so excited. I work with several different, I worked with many different paranormal teams throughout the time of being public, and one of the things that some people get so excited by what they're experiencing that they don't know how to turn it down, or they don't know how to exclude themselves from it and carry on in a regular life as well. So there's lots of ways that you can kind of slow that, or like deter that from happening. The easiest ways, honestly, and this may sound funny, is something that we refer to as a dry bath. The Rich is probably familiar with that term. Literally wiping the energy of the place off bottoms of your feet, down your legs, back, before you leave a place. You can also say a statement with firmer intention, and again, respectfully, but just say, all the energy I came with is all that I want to leave with. Thank you very much. So those simple, those are the easiest, quickest, simple ways. There are many, many ways. Have you ever felt like that's happened to you, or you were just asking?
Maybe once.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did that resolve itself?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I still only set 4 chairs at the table.
Just cutting down slowly, right, from 18 to 4. No, that's a great question. That's a great question. And that can be not only in a historical place or a place like that, but it could also be in a place where you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, any public place that you walk into, if it does feel busy or heavy, or you're just like crammed in there sometimes, you feel like uncomfortable, really, truly, you can do those things before you leave as well. And if you're not a talker, you can think it to the universe, or you can write it down and read it. Keep it in the car and read it if that's something that you want to do. But that is best to do before you actually are in your car, before you actually leave a place. Rich, do you have anything else to say on that as far as?
No,
Okay.
there's, like you said, several ways. But,
Sure.
doing paranormal investigations for 10 years and a couple hundred investigations, that's a question that always comes up. And it's as simple as, and it depends on the house and the feeling of the house and that type of thing. But it's as simple as telling whoever's, if there's any human spirit present, you are not allowed to follow us home. You must remain here. Any inhuman spirit, you are commanded to go where God intends you to go. It's a nice way to say go to hell. But I have found, or we have found, that spirit is very respectful. If you respect spirit, they'll respect you. That's why I think our team is very successful with our investigations, because we actually like each other, which is a big thing in the paranormal world. But because we understand, we respect spirit, so spirit will respect us. If it's something that is a little more insistent, then there's other ways, but it's as basic as that. But you're right about Gettysburg. Salem is another place where it's just an uncomfortable place for individuals who have a higher level of ability.
Yeah. And even a lot of, even where we live too, any area or valley with a lot of Native American history can feel that way.
And it depends
so
on
it doesn't.
areas too.
Right, yeah.
We frequented, last year we frequented Pennhurst about a dozen times. If anybody's not familiar with Pennhurst and its history, it's pretty grim. If you go into there's 2 main buildings open, Devon and Mayflower. If you go into Devon, it's not a bad atmosphere, but then you find out that was higher functioning and there wasn't as many of the atrocities there. Mayflower was one of, Dr. Fear, and yes, that's his real name. He was the medical director, but that was one of the, there in Quaker were the two buildings that he conducted his thing. But they have a very uncomfortable feeling. That's about the best way I can put it.
Sure.
I'll be honest, about 4 years ago, when I met this lady, was actually through a referral from another paranormal group,
Oh.
Vicky.
Oh, okay.
And I considered myself a psychic brick. I didn't have experiences, I didn't feel anything, and unfortunately or fortunately, I don't believe in coincidence. You guys have heard that before. But about the time I met her, I lost my dad. It must have been meant because I started to realize that it wasn't so much a psychic brick, but that gut that I always had. That was my ability. It continues to be my ability. I didn't used to trust it, and I led wrong ways sometimes. Since then, it has grown slightly to where I walk into a place and I can tell it's busy or it's uncomfortable. I don't sense people, I don't sense that. Just I know this is a place we don't want to be right now. Those kind of things. You were asking about experiences. I have a gentleman that I investigate with quite often. Gettysburg, the Jenny Wade house, not the birth house, the one further into town where she was killed. He never had experiences. He went into that house, I'll be honest, we were filming. He went into the house and actually relived the event. He felt like he was physically there. He broke down into tears, had to sit down, the whole bit. So, yeah, sometimes when you don't expect it, spirit surprises you. But thanks to this lady, and I'll give you some, because I met her at that time and I believe that that was intended to happen, she's probably one of, not only was I a brick, I was a skeptic. That's why I didn't know anybody to bring in. Yeah, just a little bit.
He asked the most questions the first time I was here.
Yeah.
So that was
But thanks to Kelly and one or two others that I have met, there's a lot of charlatans out there, but there's a lot of real people out there that know what they're doing and they're out there to help people.
Aw,
So that's my endorsement. And
thanks. Aw. I'm glad. Like I said, if we open minds a little bit or educate a little bit, that's the main purpose. And I'm glad that you feel like you can trust that gut now. Because like I said, especially some people who work with teams who get so excited need people like you. They literally need you to grab them by the back of their shirt and be like, no, not now. You know, out we go. So, you know, that you have to trust that as well. So
But
some people don't have that. So that's very
what
important.
I found was my block, if you will, is I'm very good. I don't have that ability, at least I don't believe I do. But what I do is I organize things real well, and I run a good investigation, and I make sure people are safe, and I make sure that the client gets what they need. And I think that sometimes what I've been told, Kelly, is that gets in the way of that other stuff. Some of us who are that black and white, you know, logic type people, that's what gets in the way. Sorry.
That's a blessing to everybody else. Truly. Especially
Everybody
those
has
people
gifts, it's just
who lead
they-
with that.
So,
Yeah.
I don't need to long show.
No, it's-
One more, because I'm sitting here thinking I got here.
Oh,
Well, you know, I used to live down Washington's Crossing,
okay.
and there's a lot of colonial homes there, obviously, for, you know, the whole thing. And I used to deliver furniture as well.
Okay.
And this one great big colonial house that used to had a great big brick house, they must have been rich as hell. But I never got together. I said I'm delivering furniture, finally get together, and it was like real hot in summertime, blah, blah, blah. And you have to deliver a bed upstairs, and me and my partner. And I can't tell you, I mean, nobody said anything to me, nobody did anything. Going upstairs, it was like, I had a feeling like, man, there was something all over the top of me. And I mean, every angle, she was like so strong, I never really felt something that strong.
Sure.
And I thought, don't, get come unglued because it's colonial out there.
Right.
Well, we finally put a bed in this little bitty room, because I say people were small, and they lost the bed.
Oh.
And the point was like, I went downstairs, and back, most of those colonials like that, people have their own legends, they'd say like, you came today, and they're gonna do. And I asked the woman, I said, I gotta ask you this, and she said, what's that? I said, do you ever kind of feel like, somebody's like watching you, because I sort of, and she said, oh yeah, well, apparently a young lady had contracted some type of disease back in 1837. And the woman said, yes, she's buried in our cellar, she has her own tombstone. Was that connection that hot, do you think, or?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I say too, from my interaction with spirit, if somebody, if you feel something and you directly relate it to something else, that's what you're meant to feel. That's truly a valid connection, absolutely.
Was she just curious because we were there, or?
Yeah, probably, because and this kind of leads into a completely different topic, but to answer your question, you're delivering a bed, okay?
Right.
So I always say one of the ways like people want to kind of cleanse and clear their space, one of the easiest ways I tell them, you've seen like sage or salt water, letting in the moonlight or the sunlight or all these different ways. One of the easiest ways you can do it is rearrange your furniture. So because every time you rearrange, you're changing the vibration of the room. Every time new people are entering, you're changing the vibration of the place. So if you're bringing in a new bed, you're changing something. She was probably curious.
How would you?
So,
Okay.
yeah, I would think that's very real. And I'm glad that you asked the lady that you could have validation on that, because, it's a
Well,
lot,
she
very
was-
gentle,
she wasn't
certain
very
ways you can
smart,
ask that.
She was, apparently it was like a regular thing.
Regular thing. She was used to that.
But it blew my mind up.
Yeah.
No.
Aw. I did get like 2 or 3 other questions, but I can be quick. Is that okay, Rich?
Sure.
Okay, I didn't want to.
Yep.
Okay.
You got, you got plenty of time.
Okay, well, some people said, one of the questions was, can you sense other people with ability? Like, if you have ability, can you sense other people? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. And I say that only because you have a choice whether you want to open yourself up to being known for that or not. And I don't mean publicly. I mean, I went to a group gallery reading one time, and that gallery is where the psychic or medium is reading the room of people. You don't necessarily get to everybody, but you read many of the people there. And the person that I was there, I did not trust their intention, the person who was reading. I was there as a guest. I never said what else I did. I was just there. And I didn't really trust their intentions, so I literally put a wall up, a visual wall. And she didn't read me. And she said, oh, I'm sorry I didn't get to you. And I thought that was on purpose. You're welcome. Like, so, it was like one of the last people. And she was like, oh, I could come back. I'm like, oh, okay. And then she came back and she's like, I'm sorry I didn't get to you. I'm like, you wouldn't have anyway. So, it really depends on their intention. But you can sense other people who are sensitive, absolutely. If you're open and comfortable with it, or if you've had experiences, of course, that, again, leads you to connect with someone and immediately connect and be able to talk about this stuff. There's something there, that driving force as a connection and having that sensitivity. So absolutely, you can sense them, but sometimes people don't want that. And I also give the example of sometimes I've had people, and I literally can count on one hand how many people have done this. Most times I have very amazing client friends, but I had a couple one time who came in with that prove it to me attitude. And there were 2 of them, and I literally stopped the reading and I said, you do understand by sitting there and saying, prove it to me, or putting that out to the universe, like I stopped and I said, are you sure you want to be here? And they were like, well, our neighbor said you were good. I'm like, no, but do you want to be here? Are you ready for this? Till the end they did loosen up then, but I said to them, by putting out there that prove it to me, or sitting, like kicked back, like miserable, you're blocking your own messages. So if you want to experience, if you want to have something, a connection of sorts in a reading, you can block it. So, and I use that as a protective thing, because if I didn't trust in somebody's intention or things like that, but, that's why I say, people come to it at their own right time. And then they did loosen up later. It was fine. But, we had to chat first. So, but yeah, you can control, another question was, can you control your sensitivities? Absolutely. This sounds ridiculous, but I'm so visual, which sounds funny also by what I do. Yeah, seeing is believing, yeah, right. but I actually have a visual of an open and closed neon sign above my head. So when I'm reading, I visualize that turning on, open sign. When I'm done, I turn it off and I turn it down. If I was reading all the time, you can't be human. You can't do everything else you need done. You can't concentrate on the road. And I would get nothing else done by being in a room with 5-year-olds with no filter. I'd be reading all day long, every day about everything. So, yeah, you can absolutely learn to turn it down. I use the visualization, but you can also, journal it. My mom, who gets a lot of information through free writing, designates a time. She sits with a journal book from 7 to 7:30 in the morning and takes a message from the universe. At 7:30, she closes the book, she's done for the day. And she only requests messages that she can pass along to people she knows. So again, there is being able to forward that information because you don't want to be stuck with it. It's not any of our business. So you want to be able to forward it, but you also want to limit that time. So if it's a visual of a book, if it's a visual of a sign, or being in a certain location or being in a certain spot, you can open that by praying or meditating or thinking or writing about it to establish that, and then you can maintain that to close it as well. Or turn it, I just always say turn it down. I don't think you ever really turn it off. But and again, to kind of figure them out, to try to accomplish it safely, is to talk to a resource, reference, or experience with like minds. So, and I got one more question about, and this is a couple of tier question, but it's about less than pure spirit. So something that maybe like demonic spirit or earthbound spirits, as I said. How do people figure out if it's something like that or if it's a relative? And that's a really great question. A lot of times you can obviously experience that figure it out with the help of a team. If you feel like it's a place or location that you want help with that. And I know we went through it speedily tonight. I do a workshop in my business about signs and signals from spirit where we get into it a little bit deeper. But if it makes you feel comfortable or okay or can connect to someone you know, that's usually of spirit of higher, pure vibration. If it makes you feel more uncomfortable or like you don't really know what to do with how you feel, or maybe there's no cause with how you feel, maybe you just feel busy, as Rich was saying, or maybe you kind of feel like you have to get out, you've had enough, you got to get out, or maybe you can't tie it to someone you know right away, that can be kind of indicative of a less than pure or lower vibrational spirit. It doesn't have to be, but it's a good telltale, really, if it's comfortable or not. And that, again, is trusting your gut and going with your instinct. And another part of the question was about hauntings. How do they occur? And that's that earthbound spirit. And this is a simple way that I explain it, but sometimes I just say it's almost, depending on the place, like Gettysburg, sir, as you mentioned, it's almost like having, I'm an 80s child, the VCR on repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, and they're reliving, and they're just happening again and again and again and again and again. So, that's kind of part of the way. Another part of the way would be, or another option for the way that it would carry on and continue would be, having a message, feeling they need to relay a message, impact the person who's living there now. Every house I've moved into, I've always had a chat with the house beforehand. I'm only here, I only want healthy, loving, light energy in here. I don't, I'm going to take care of the place, blah, 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 blah. Again, I don't feel weird talking to the universe. But kind of establishing that up front in hopes of maybe cutting back on that. But if it's something that carries on and continue, you can cleanse and clear your space, or you can have help of someone. I've walked through a lot of places and read the environment, read any spirit presence there for people privately and with teams, and of course what Rich and the team do can help with that as well. So I hope that covered that a little bit. So if that concludes most of the questions for this evening, I hope you found it informative, my surprise presentation. I had a feeling it would kind of go different directions, and I wanted to address what you feel the most interested in, and give you a little bit of background on how things would be comfortable or not so comfortable, and maybe the connection, be able to tie those between people that you are wanting to know about, or again, that kind of earthbound spirit haunting type energy, and distinguishing between the two. I think one of the biggest things that I've felt since I started being public in this area and reading is that people feel a lot better about their home and where they live and their experiences just by understanding a little bit. Just by understanding if what they're experiencing in their home is a loved one, or if it's because they brought in antique furniture and they didn't cleanse it, or if it's because they bought this house and they didn't know what happened on the, on the land or location. So really, again, that education piece, I think, builds a lot of help and calm. But I appreciate your time, and I'm apologizing if I ran a little over, but I'm a talker, Mitch, you know this. You gave me free reign, that's what happens. But I appreciate it, and it is an honor to meet all of you and talk with you. So if you do think of anything else, I do have a bit of a drive this evening and a couple online appointments late this evening, but feel free to send a text and I can get back to you if there's something that comes into mind after tonight. It'll just be me replying. It does come from my business cell phone. So thank you very much, everybody. Thanks. Have a great day. Thanks.